1 year had passed since the humans arrived. 1 year of war, sacrifice, and hope. The final battle took place in the Great Desert, at the center of the largest continent. The Krath had gathered everything they had left for one last attack. They knew this was their final chance. If they lost here, they would lose everything. The humans knew it too. Hannah stood on a hill overlooking the battlefield. She was no longer the young girl who did not believe in prophecies. She was a soldier now, trained by human instructors, hardened by months of combat. Her grandmother Sue had recovered and was helping to rebuild the capital city. But Hannah could not stay there. She needed to fight. She needed to see this war end. Beside her stood Minho, the young Velra who had been so scared in his first battle. He was different now, stronger, more confident. The humans had taught him well. "This is it," Minho said, looking at the massive armies forming below. "Yes," Hannah replied. "Today, it ends." Captain Jin addressed the combined forces one last time. Her voice was carried by speakers across the entire human and Velra army. "I will not lie to you," she said. "This will be the hardest fight we have ever faced. The Krath have nothing left to lose. They will fight with everything they have. Many of us will not survive this day." She paused. "But I want you to remember something. 1 year ago, the Velra stood alone against the darkness. They were beaten, broken, and nearly destroyed. But they did not give up. They held on until help arrived. And when we came, they stood up and fought beside us. Today, we are not just humans and Velra. We are one people, one army, one family." The soldiers cheered. Humans and Velra raised their weapons together. "The Krath came to this world to destroy," Jin continued. "They have destroyed many worlds before. They thought this one would be easy. They were wrong. Today, we show the entire galaxy what happens when good people stand together. Today, we end this war. Today, we win." The battle began at sunrise. The Krath attacked from all sides, their war machines leading the charge. The ground shook with each step of those metal monsters. Their soldiers followed behind, a wave of death stretching from one horizon to the other. The human and Velra forces held their ground. Sergeant Yuna led the front lines, as she always did. Her squad had grown larger over the year, now including many Velra soldiers who had learned to fight the human way. They moved together like a single creature, each one knowing exactly what the others would do. Hannah was part of that squad. She had trained under Yuna for months, learning everything the human sergeant could teach her. Now, she fought beside her teacher, matching her shot for shot. "Good work," Yuna shouted as Hannah destroyed a Krath soldier. "You have gotten better." "I had a good teacher," Hannah shouted back. The battle raged for hours. The desert sand turned dark with blood. The sky filled with smoke and fire. Human ships fought Krath ships above. Soldiers fought soldiers below. It was chaos and death and destruction. But the humans did not retreat. The Velra did not break. They held every position, fought for every meter of ground, and refused to give up. By midday, the Krath advance had stopped. By afternoon, they were being pushed back. By evening, they were in full retreat. Captain Jin gave the final order. "All units advance. Drive them off this world." The combined army surged forward. They chased the Krath across the desert, past the mountains, to the place where the enemy ships waited. The Krath tried to escape, but human ships blocked their path. There was nowhere to go. The Krath's supreme commander requested a meeting with Captain Jin. It was the first time they had ever asked to talk instead of fight. Jin agreed to meet him on neutral ground, with Hannah and Commander Tay at her side. The Krath commander was massive, even bigger than the others. His forearms were covered in scars from countless battles. His eyes were dark and empty. "Why do you fight so hard?" he asked. His voice was deep and rough. "This is not your world. These are not your people. You have lost thousands of soldiers for strangers." "Why?" Jin looked at him calmly. "Because it was the right thing to do." The commander seemed confused. "Right? Wrong? These are just words. Power is all that matters. The strong take from the weak. That is the way of the universe." "No," Jin said. "That is the way you see the universe. We see it differently. Then you are fools." "Maybe," Jin admitted. "But we are fools who won." The craft commander was silent for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He lowered his head. "We will leave this world," he said. "We will not return. But know this, human. There are others like us in the galaxy. Others who take and destroy. You cannot save everyone." "We can try," Jin replied. The crash ships left that night. They flew away into the darkness of space, never to return to the Velra homeworld. The war was over. A week later, a ceremony was held in the ruins of the old temple where Hannah's grandmother used to tell the prophecy. The Velra had begun to rebuild it, and though it was not finished, it was the perfect place for this moment. Commander Tay knelt before Captain Jin. Around him, thousands of Velra watched in silence. "Captain Jin," Tay said, his voice thick with emotion. "You came to us when we had nothing. You fought for us when we could not fight for ourselves. You gave us back our world, our future, our hope. We do not have words big enough to thank you." Jin reached down and helped him stand. "You do not need to kneel," she said. "We are equals. We have always been equals." "The prophecy spoke of saviors," Tay said. "We never truly understood what that meant. We thought saviors would come and fix everything for us. But that is not what you did. You taught us to save ourselves. You stood beside us, not above us. That is the true meaning of the prophecy." Jin smiled. "My people have a tradition. When someone saves you, you do not just thank them. You promise to save someone else. The chain continues forever. Kindness passing from one to another across the stars." She looked at the Velra gathered around them. "Someday, another world will face darkness like you did. They will send a distress signal into the void, hoping someone will answer. When that day comes, I hope you will be the ones who answer. I hope you will become the saviors in someone else's prophecy." Hannah stepped forward. She had thought about this moment for months. She knew exactly what she wanted to say. "We will," she declared. "I promise. The Velra will never forget what the humans did for us. And when another world needs help, we will go to them. We will fight for them. We will teach them to save themselves, just as you taught us." Jin nodded. Then the legend continues. Years later, Hana became the commander of the new Velra fleet. Under her leadership, her people rebuilt their civilization and became stronger than ever before. They kept their promise to the humans, joining them in protecting the weak and fighting against the darkness. The story of the humans, who came to save the Velra, spread across the galaxy. It became a legend, told on countless worlds. Some did not believe it. They said selfless creatures could not exist. But others hoped it was true. And whenever a world fell into darkness, whenever people lost hope, they would look up at the stars and whisper the same words. "Maybe the humans will come. Maybe they will save us." And sometimes they did. The chain of kindness continued, stretching from star to star, from century to century. The prophecy had been fulfilled. But more than that, a new prophecy had begun. A prophecy of hope, of courage, of creatures who refused to let the darkness win. A prophecy of humanity. The craft returned on the third day after the humans arrived. They came with everything they had. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Thousands of war machines. Ships that blocked out the sun. They were angry. They had never faced resistance like this before, and they wanted to crush it completely. Sergeant Una stood on the front line, checking her weapon one last time. She was short, even for a human, but her eyes were sharp and her hands were steady. Around her, 500 human soldiers prepared for battle. Behind them, 2,000 Velra fighters waited. They had little training, but they had courage. That would have to be enough. Remember, Una said to her squad, these things are big and ugly, but they're not smart. They attack in straight lines. They don't know how to adapt. Use that against them. A young Velra soldier named Minho approached her. He was barely an adult, his blue skin still light and smooth. His hands were shaking as he held his weapon. I am scared, he admitted. Una looked at him and smiled. Good. Fear keeps you alive. Only fools feel no fear. The trick is to be scared and fight anyway. How do you do that? Practice, she said. And a little bit of crazy? The ground began to shake. The Krath were coming. Una could see them now, pouring down from the hills like a black river. Their soldiers were twice the size of humans, with thick armor built into their bodies. They had forearms, each one ending in sharp claws. Their faces had no expression, only hunger. Behind the soldiers came the machines. They walked on 4 legs, towering above everything. Their weapons could destroy a building with one shot. The Velra had tried to fight these machines before. They had failed every time. Here they come, Una said calmly. Weapons ready. The humans raised their weapons. They were not like Velra weapons. They were heavier, louder, and much more destructive. The humans had spent centuries fighting among themselves before they reached the stars. They had perfected the art of war. Fire! Una shouted. The sound was like thunder. 500 human weapons fired at once, sending streams of light and metal into the enemy lines. The first wave of Krath soldiers fell immediately. Then the second. Then the third. But there were too many. They kept coming, climbing over the bodies of their fallen. They were like a flood that could not be stopped. Fall back to position 2. Una ordered. The humans retreated in perfect order, still firing as they moved. The Velra followed, trying to match their discipline. Minho stayed close to Una, doing exactly what she did. They reached a narrow valley between 2 cliffs. This was where Una wanted to fight. The narrow space would limit how many Krath could attack at once. It would take away their advantage of numbers. Set the charges, Una commanded. Human soldiers placed explosives on the cliff walls. They waited until the Krath filled the valley, thousands of them pushing forward in their hunger to kill. Una pressed the button. The cliffs exploded. Rocks the size of houses fell onto the Krath army, crushing hundreds in seconds. The survivors screamed in confusion. They had never faced this kind of tactic before. Now, Una shouted, "Push them back!" The humans charged. They ran straight into the confused enemy, firing and fighting at close range. Una was at the front, her weapon blazing. She moved like water, dodging claws and striking weak points. Every shot she fired found its target. Minho watched in amazement. These humans were not just soldiers. They were something else entirely. They fought with a fury he had never seen. They laughed in the face of death. They seemed to enjoy the battle. A Krath soldier lunged at Minho. He froze, unable to move. Then Una appeared beside him, putting 3 shots into the creature's head. "Don't freeze up," she yelled. "Keep moving." Minho nodded and raised his weapon. He fired at the next enemy. Then the next. Then the next. He was not as good as Una, but he was fighting. He was actually fighting. The battle lasted for hours. The Krath pushed forward and the humans pushed back. The ground became covered with bodies. The air filled with smoke and screams. But slowly, incredibly, the tide began to turn. High above, human ships were winning the battle in space. The Krath fleet was being destroyed piece by piece. Without support from above, the ground forces began to weaken. Captain Jin's voice came through the communication system. All units, the enemy command ship has been destroyed. Their coordination is failing. Press the attack. Yuna grinned. You heard her. Let's finish this. The humans surged forward with renewed energy. They pushed the Krath back, step by step, meter by meter. The enemy that had seemed invincible was retreating. The monsters that had destroyed a civilization were running away. By sunset, it was over. The Krath army was broken. Thousands of them lay dead in the valley. The rest fled into the wilderness, hunted by human ships above. Yuna sat on a rock, finally allowing herself to rest. Her armor was damaged, and she had several wounds, but she was smiling. Around her, human and Velra soldiers celebrated together. They hugged each other, shared water, and laughed. Minho approached her. His face was dirty and tired, but his eyes were bright. We won, he said, as if he could not believe it. We won this battle, Yuna corrected him. The war is not over yet. The Krath will come back. They always do. But now they know. Now they understand. Understand what? Yuna looked at the young Velra. That this planet is protected. That your people have friends. That anyone who attacks you will have to fight us first. She stood up and put a hand on his shoulder. And we do not lose. In the distance, Commander Tay was standing with Captain Jin. They watched the sunset together. The first peaceful sunset the planet had seen in weeks. I never thought I would see this, Tay said quietly. I thought we were finished. Your people are strong, Jin replied. You survived until we arrived. That is not easy. We barely survived. Without you, we would all be dead. Jin shook her head. We just gave you a chance. Your people will have to rebuild. It will take time. Many years. But you will survive. And you will grow strong again. Tay looked at her. Why do your people fight so hard? I watched your soldiers today. They ran toward danger, not away from it. They seemed almost happy to fight. I do not understand. Jin was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. My ancestors lived on a planet that tried to kill them every day. Storms, predators, disease, starvation. They should have died 1,000 times. But they survived. They fought against everything the universe threw at them, and they survived. That stubbornness is in our blood. We do not know how to give up. We do not know how to accept defeat. It is not in our nature. She turned to face him. Your people believed in a prophecy. You believed that someone would come to save you. That belief kept you alive. Now, let me tell you what we believe. We believe that every life matters. We believe that the strong should protect the weak. We believe that evil should be fought, no matter the cost. That is why we came. That is why we fight. Tay felt tears in his eyes. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for everything. Jin smiled. Do not thank us yet. The Krath are not defeated. They will return with more soldiers, more ships, more hate. We need to prepare. The real battle is still coming. Tay nodded. He was tired, wounded, and heartbroken by all the loss. But he was also ready. With the humans beside them, the Velra had a chance. A real chance, and this time, they would not fall. The mountains were cold and dark. 2 million Velra huddled together in caves and valleys, waiting for death to find them. They had little food, little water, and almost no hope. The Krath were coming. Everyone knew it. It was only a matter of time. Hana sat near the entrance of a large cave, holding her grandmother's hand. Sue had become very weak after the escape from the temple. She could barely walk now. Her breathing was slow and difficult. Hannah feared she would not survive much longer. "Tell me the prophecy again," Hannah whispered. Sue smiled, even though her face was pale. "Now you wanted to hear it?" "Yes, please." The old woman closed her eyes and spoke softly. "When the darkness covers our world, when our cities burn and our people fall, do not lose hope. From across the stars, they will come. Small in body, but great in heart. They will carry the fire of 1,000 suns in their hands. They will stand where we cannot stand. They will fight when we cannot fight. They are the humans, and they will be our salvation." Hannah felt tears in her eyes. She still did not know if she believed, but she wanted to. She wanted to so badly that a commotion started outside. People were shouting, pointing at the sky. Hannah gently placed her grandmother down and ran outside to see what was happening. The sky, which had been red with enemy ships for over a week, was changing. The craft vessels were pulling back, moving away from the mountains. And in their place, new ships were descending. Gray ships, simple and strong. They came down through the clouds like rain falling from heaven. "What are those?" someone asked. "I don't know," another person said. Hannah's heart was beating fast. She remembered what Commander Tay had said in his message. "The humans are coming." Could it be true? The gray ships landed in the valley below the mountains. There were dozens of them now. Their doors opened, and figures began walking out. Hannah pushed through the crowd to get a better look. She saw them clearly when they reached the base of the mountain. They were smaller than Velra, with soft skin in different shades of brown and pink. They had hair on their heads in colors of black, brown, and yellow. Their eyes were small but bright. They wore black armor that covered their bodies, and they carried weapons that looked heavy and dangerous. At the front of the group was a woman. She had short black hair and dark eyes. Her face was calm and serious. She walked with confidence, like someone who had faced death many times and was not afraid of it anymore. The woman stopped when she reached the first group of Velra. She looked up at them because they were much taller. Then she spoke. Her voice was clear and strong. "I am Captain Jin. I am here with the Human Defense Fleet. We received your distress signal from space. We have come to help." The Velra stared at her in silence. They did not know what to say. How could such small creatures help them? How could anyone help them? An elder stepped forward. "Why?" he asked. "Why would you come? You do not know us. We are nothing to you." Captain Jin looked at him for a long moment. Then she spoke. "Many years ago, my people almost died. A sickness spread across our world and killed billions. We had no cure. We had no hope. We thought we were finished. Then a ship came from the stars. We had never seen aliens before. We did not even know they existed. But they came. They gave us medicine. They saved us. We asked them why, and they said something I will never forget." She paused. "They said that the universe is dark and cold, and the only light comes from kindness. They helped us because someone had once helped them, and they asked us to do the same, to pass it forward, to help others when they need it." The elder's eyes were wet. "And now you help us." "Yes," Jin said simply. "Now we help you?" Hannah pushed through the crowd until she reached the front. She stood before Captain Jin and looked into the human's eyes. She saw no lies there, no tricks, only truth. "Can you really save us?" Hannah asked. "The Krath are powerful. They destroyed our whole civilization in days. They have millions of soldiers. They have machines that cannot be stopped." Jin smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. "My people have a saying," she said. "It is not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog." Hannah did not understand. "What is a dog?" An animal from our world. Small but brave. Very brave. Jin looked around at the scared, tired faces of the Volra survivors. We have fought enemies before. Stronger enemies. Bigger enemies. We lost many times. But we never stopped fighting. And in the end, we won. We always won. How? Hannah asked. Because we refused to give up, Jin said. Other species in the galaxy think we are strange. They say we do not know when to quit. They say we fight when we should run. They say we hope when we should despair. They are right. And that is why we win. More human soldiers were arriving now. They carried supplies, medicine, food, and water. They gave everything to the Velra without asking for anything in return. Hannah watched as children received clean water for the first time in days. She watched as doctors treated the wounded and sick. She ran back to the cave where her grandmother lay. Grandmother! They're here! The humans are here. Sue opened her eyes slowly. I know, child. I can feel it. The prophecy has begun. A human doctor entered the cave. She was young, with kind eyes and gentle hands. She examined Sue and gave her medicine. She will be okay, the doctor said. She just needs rest and care. Hannah cried. She cried because her grandmother would live. She cried because help had finally come. She cried because she had been wrong about everything. Outside, Captain Jin was speaking to the leaders of the survivors. Commander Tay had come down from space in an escape pod and joined them. The Krath have retreated for now, Jin explained. But they will come back. They always do. We need to prepare for battle. How many soldiers do you have? Tay asked. 5,000 on the ground. Another 10,000 in orbit. 5,000? Tay looked worried. The Krath have millions. Jin nodded. Numbers are not everything. We have better weapons, better training, and something they do not have. What is that? Jin looked up at the sky, where human ships were now patrolling. We have something to fight for, she said. The Krath fight because they want to destroy. We fight because we want to protect. There is a difference. And that difference wins wars. Tay wanted to believe her. He had seen what the humans did to those 20 Krath ships. Maybe, just maybe, she was right. What do you need from us? He asked. Your knowledge, Jin said. You know this planet. You know the Krath better than we do. Help us understand them, and we will help you destroy them. Tay straightened his back. For the first time in over a week, he felt like a soldier again. Then let us begin, he said. And so the alliance was formed. Human and Velra, standing together. The darkness had come, but so had the light. The prophecy was coming true. Now, they would see if it was enough. The old temple sat on top of the highest mountain in the land. Its walls were made of white stone that had turned gray with age. Inside, the elders gathered every night to tell stories. These were not just any stories. They were prophecies passed down for 1,000 years. Hannah sat in the corner, her blue skin glowing softly in the candlelight. She was young, barely 20 cycles old. Her people, the Velra, lived for 300 cycles, so she was still considered a child by many. But Hannah did not feel like a child. She felt tired of hearing the same old tales. And when the darkness comes, the eldest one spoke. His voice weak but steady. Beings from beyond the stars will descend. They will be small in size but great in spirit. They will carry fire in their hands and courage in their hearts. They are the saviors. Hannah rolled her eyes. She had heard this story 100 times, maybe 1,000. Every elder loved to tell it. Every parent whispered it to their children before sleep. But Hannah did not believe it. How could she? The Velra had technology. They had ships that could travel between planets. They had weapons that could destroy mountains. Why would they need saviors from the stars? You do not believe, a voice said. Beside her, Hana turned to see her grandmother, Sue, sitting down slowly. The old woman's skin was darker blue, almost purple with age. Her eyes were kind but sad. I believe in what I can see, Hana replied. I believe in science. In facts. Not in old stories. Sue smiled. The young always think they know better. But child, these stories exist for a reason. Our ancestors saw something. They wrote it down. They made us remember. Or they made up tales to give people hope, Hana said. Sue did not argue. She simply patted Hana's hand and looked up at the ceiling of the temple. Through the glass dome, they could see the night sky. 3 moons hung in the darkness, surrounded by countless stars. I hope you never have to find out which of us is right, Sue whispered. That night, Hana walked home through the quiet streets of the capital city. The buildings rose high into the sky, their surfaces smooth and shining. Lights floated in the air, powered by energy crystals. Everything was peaceful. Everything was normal. She reached her small home near the edge of the city. Her parents had died in an accident when she was young, so she lived alone. It was lonely sometimes, but Hana preferred it. She could think without anyone bothering her. She could read her books and study the stars, without someone telling her to believe in prophecies. She was about to go to sleep when she noticed something strange. The sky outside her window was changing color. It was turning from black to dark red. At first, she thought it was her imagination. Then she heard the sirens. The sound was loud and terrible. Hana had never heard it before, but she knew what it meant. Every child learned about the emergency sirens in school. They were only used when something very bad was happening. She ran outside. People were flooding into the streets, looking up at the sky with fear in their eyes. The red color was spreading, and now Hana could see why. Ships. Hundreds of ships. Maybe thousands. They were coming through the atmosphere, leaving trails of fire behind them. What is happening? Someone screamed. The sky is burning. Another person cried. Hana stood frozen. Her mind tried to understand what she was seeing, but it was too much. These ships were not Velra ships. They were different. Bigger. Darker. They looked like they were made of black, metal and hate. The first explosions came a moment later. They hit the outer districts of the city, turning buildings into dust and fire. The ground shook so hard that Hana fell to her knees. She covered her ears, but the sounds of destruction were everywhere. People ran in all directions. Parents grabbed their children. Soldiers appeared, trying to create order, but there was no order. There was only chaos. Hana got up and started running. She did not know where she was going. She just knew she had to move. Behind her, more explosions. More screams. More death. She found herself at the temple. She did not plan to come here. Her feet just brought her. The building was still standing, but cracks were spreading across its walls. Inside, she found her grandmother. Sue was sitting calmly in the center of the main hall. Around her, other elders were praying. They were not running. They were not screaming. They were just sitting there, their eyes closed, their lips moving in silent words. Grandmother, Hana shouted. We have to go. We have to run. Sue opened her eyes. There was no fear in them, only acceptance. They have come, Sue said quietly. The darkness has come. What are you talking about? Hana grabbed her grandmother's arm. We need to leave. And go where, child? Sue asked. They are everywhere. Look. Hana turned to the glass dome above them. The sky was now completely red, filled with enemy ships. They covered the moons. They blocked out the stars. There was nowhere to run. This is the beginning, Sue continued. The prophecy speaks of darkness before light. We must survive the darkness first. The prophecy is just a story. Hannah cried, tears running down her face. Sue stood up slowly. She took Hannah's face in her old hands and looked into her eyes. Remember the words, child. When all hope is lost, when the Volra fall to their knees, the saviors will come. They will come from a small blue world in a distant arm of the galaxy. They call themselves humans, and they will save us all. An explosion hit the temple. The walls cracked. The roof began to fall. Hannah grabbed her grandmother and pulled her toward the door. They ran outside just as the building collapsed behind them. The city was on fire. The beautiful towers were falling. The floating lights had all gone dark. Velra bodies lay in the streets. It was the end of everything Hannah knew. But as she held her grandmother close and watched her world burn, she heard Sue's voice one more time. Have faith, child. They will come. The humans will come. Hannah did not believe it. She could not believe it. But as the night turned into a nightmare, she found herself hoping. For the first time in her life, she hoped that the old stories were true. She hoped that somewhere out there, in the vast darkness of space, someone was coming to save them. 7 days had passed since the invasion began. 7 days of fire, death, and defeat. Commander Tay stood on the bridge of the last surviving warship in the Volra fleet. His uniform was torn and covered in ash. His face was tired, his eyes red from lack of sleep. He had not rested since the first day. How could he? His people were dying, and he could do nothing to stop it. Commander, a young officer named June said, we have lost contact with the eastern provinces. Tay closed his eyes. The eastern provinces. That was where his family lived. His wife, his 2 sons. He had sent them there when the attack began, thinking they would be safe. Now, he did not know if they were alive or dead. What about our ground forces? Tay asked. Destroyed, June replied, his voice shaking. The enemy has machines that walk on 4 legs. They tear through our soldiers like they are nothing. Our weapons do not hurt them. Tay walked to the window of the bridge. Below, he could see the planet's surface. Once, it had been beautiful. Green forests, blue oceans, white cities. Now, it was covered in smoke and fire. The enemy had bombed everything. Farms, schools, hospitals. They did not care what they destroyed. They only wanted death. The invaders called themselves the Krath. No one knew where they came from. No one knew why they attacked. They just appeared one day, like a plague from the stars. Their ships were faster than Velra ships. Their weapons were stronger. And their soldiers felt no fear, no mercy, no pity. How many people have we saved? Tay asked. About 2 million, June said. We moved them to the northern mountains. The enemy has not reached there yet. 2 million. That was all. Before the invasion, the Velra numbered 8 billion. In 7 days, they had lost almost everything Tay thought about his training. He had spent 40 cycles in the military. He had fought pirates and stopped small conflicts. He had believed he was ready for anything. But nothing had prepared him for this. Nothing could prepare anyone for watching their entire civilization fall. Commander, another officer shouted. Enemy ships approaching. 20 of them. Tay straightened his back. Prepare to fight. Sir, we only have 1 ship. We cannot win. I know, Tay said. But we can give our people time. Every minute we fight is another minute for the survivors to escape deeper into the mountains. The crew looked at him with fear and respect. They knew they were going to die, but they also knew their commander was right. There was nothing left to do but fight. The battle lasted only 15 minutes. The enemy ships surrounded them and fired from all sides. Tay's ship fought back, destroying 3 enemy vessels before the damage became too great. Fires broke out on every deck. The engines failed. The weapons went silent. "Abandon ship," Tay ordered. "Everyone to the escape pods." "What about you, Commander?" June asked. "I will stay. Someone has to guide the ship away from the escape pods. Otherwise, the enemy will follow you." June wanted to argue, but he saw the look in Tay's eyes. There was no changing his mind. So the young officer saluted and ran to the escape pods with the others. Tay sat alone on the bridge of his dying ship. Through the broken windows, he could see the enemy vessels closing in. He thought about his wife. He thought about his sons. He hoped they were alive somewhere, hiding in the mountains with the other survivors. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I could not protect you." He reached for the controls to steer the ship away. But before he could touch them, something strange happened. The enemy ship stopped. They turned away from his vessel and faced a new direction. Tay looked to see what had caught their attention. At first, he saw nothing. Then, he noticed small lights appearing in the distance. They were moving fast, very fast, coming from the outer edge of the star system. Ships, but not Velra ships. Not Krath ships either. These were different. They were gray and simple in design, with no curves or decorations. They looked plain, almost ugly, but they moved with a speed that seemed impossible. There were only 10 of them. 10 small ships against the massive Krath fleet. It should have been a joke. It should have been suicide. But then the gray ships opened fire. Tay watched in disbelief as the first Krath vessel exploded. Then another. Then another. The gray ships moved through the enemy fleet like wind through leaves. They turned and spun in ways that should have torn them apart. But they held together. Their weapons fired continuously, each shot hitting its target perfectly. In 3 minutes. The 20 Krath ships were gone. Destroyed. Nothing but burning metal floating in space. Tay stood frozen. His mouth open, his mind unable to understand what he had just seen. Who were these strangers? Where did they come from? How were they so powerful? One of the gray ships flew close to his broken vessel. It stopped right outside his window. Tay could see inside it through a small glass section. There was a creature sitting inside. It had pale skin, dark hair, and 2 eyes that looked right at him. It was small. Much smaller than a Velra. It looked weak, fragile even. But there was something in its eyes. A fire, a determination, a refusal to give up. The creature spoke through a communication channel that somehow connected to his ship. "This is Captain Jin of the Human Defense Fleet. We received your distress signal. We are here to help." Human. Tay had never heard that word before. But in that moment, it became the most beautiful word he had ever known. "We have survivors on the planet," Tay managed to say. "Millions of them hiding in the northern mountains. The enemy is hunting them." "Understood," Captain Jin replied. "My fleet is on its way. Larger ships. More soldiers. We will land within 12 hours. Can your people hold until then?" I don't know," Tay admitted. There was a pause. Then the human spoke again. "Tell your people to hold on. Tell them help is coming. Tell them they are not alone anymore." The gray ship turned and flew toward the planet. Tay watched it go, tears running down his face. For the first time in 7 days, he felt something other than despair. He felt hope. He reached for the communication system and sent a message to the survivors in the mountains. His voice was shaking, but his words were clear. "This is Commander Tay. Do not give up. Do not surrender. Help is coming. Someone has heard us. Someone has answered." He paused, remembering the old stories he had ignored his whole life. The prophecies, the legends, the tales of saviors from the stars. "The humans are coming," he said. "Hold on, the humans are coming."